Grenache, the final frontier for Australian winemaking, maybe. The next big thing on the international wine stage, particularly in Australia, is the Grenache variety. This particular one is by Langmeil, and it's part of their old Vine Garden series of wines. So these are sort of special wines which are all hand tended from pruning right through to harvesting and all that. What's special about this particular wine is the vine age. You'll see in the label here at the front it's 35 years old minimum. So any of the vines in this are at least 35 years old, but in actual fact reach up to maybe 100 years old. And the Lindner family here behind Langmeil discovered a plot of Grenache back in the 90s in around Lindock, which had been planted around the 50s. So at this stage now, 70 years old or thereabouts. And they wanted to preserve that and protect those vines and produce something special with it. So they sort of use that as the base for their fifth wave Barossa Grenache. Now, Grenache says seen as the next big thing, is the next big grape variety, particularly coming out of Australia. Typically in the past would have been used for fortified wines a lot, and it still is used for fortified wines, and produce some great fortified wines too, I must say. If you look at some of the Woodstock wines from McLaren Vale. And that's actually a really good region for Grenache in Australia as well, as that whole McLaren Vale area. And within that, sub-regions like Blewett Springs are really, really top Grenache. But the Barossa, a wee bit further north in South Australia, produces really good Grenache too. And you see it a lot in Shiraz Grenache, Bouvet blends and things like that, Shiraz Grenache blends. Not often seen on its own in the past, but more and more so nowadays. And I suppose the way of looking at Grenache is it's a little bit like a Pinot Noir sidestep, I suppose, in that it's maybe a little bit lighter to look at. It can reflect where it comes from quite a bit, and it has quite an interesting character. It tends to be a little bit softer as well. The tannins are never as hard in Grenache as what they would be in Shiraz or Cabernet and things like that. So this particular one is the 2015 fifth wave Grenache from Langmeil. So it's one of their sort of icon wines, if you like, their top Grenache that they produce, hand harvested, hand farmed, if you like, and when they get the fruit for this particular wine, it's all sort of basket pressed into seasoned French oak for fermentation, and then it spends about 17 months in French oak as well. It's treated really gently to try and get the best out of the actual variety. It doesn't see any filtering or fining or anything like that. So often the problem with Grenache I've found in the past is that it can be a little bit over alcoholic and maybe sort of flatters to deceive sometimes, but I must say I've tried the fifth wave on several vintages, and it is a really top-notch Grenache out of Australia for the price that you pay. So medium to lightish colour, really it's not deeply intense at all. It's quite see-through. Lovely, soft. When I first opened this, you smell it out of the bottle. It was quite a lot of those sort of wild strawberry, raspberry kind of characters, and that sort of comes through, but a little bit air, and it develops into more blacker fruits, a little bit more savoury as well. Some spice in there, sort of baking spices and things like that. Slight toffee notes, and that's another thing that I would have always got typically from Grenache is toffee. I'm not sure whether you see that on the glass there. You can sort of see the tears running down the inside of the glass. It shows you that there's a bit of viscosity to it and a bit of alcohol typically in there as well. So this is sitting at 15%, which is quite big. Very mellow, very soft tannins. It's got a freshness to the acidity, which sometimes in these Australian wines they can overdo the acidity in terms of the additions that they make to create the balance, but not in this. It's quite nicely balanced. Alcohol comes through in the finish, but it's a sort of wine that it'll fit with various styles of food, I would say. You could have it with your red meats, you could have it with white meat, have it with barbecue if you wanted, but maybe barbecue might sort of overpower it slightly. It's a wine to sit and savour and think about and sort of contemplate, I suppose. It almost sort of transports you back to these sort of gnarly old vines that they're grown on. Really interesting wines, and Grenache, as I say, is the next big thing to come out of Australia, particularly South Australia. Barossa Valley here, and of course McLaren Vale produce very good examples. So yeah, if you want to try really top-notch Australian Grenache, have a look at Langmeil's Fifth Wave. You'll not be disappointed. All right, until next time, remember, kwmy.com, place where taste matters. Cheers.